Hello, everyone, and welcome to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm your host, Rajni Bharara, and today we again have a very special live session lined up for you. Our topic for today is Ask Your F1 Questions, live Q&A session with former US Visa Consular Officer. Well, as I said, I'm your host, Rajni Bharara, and we are thrilled to have with us again today the wonderful Yvette Bansal, a former US Visa Consular Officer. And Yvette, welcome to the show once again.
Thank you. It's always amazing to see you, Rajni.
It's always amazing to have you on the show. Okay, so before we move ahead, I would quickly like to, read out the disclaimer and also, well, post it here. So, Yvette, we are going to talk about, I think, F1, not I think, but we are going to shortly talk about F1 today. So, what can people expect about it?
So I have, for those who don't know, worked at Consulate General Mumbai and Delhi for almost 5 years. I was a consular officer there. So if you're tuned in and you're from India, I've definitely seen a lot of Indian students. I also do F1 webinars and link up with universities and education institutions. So for the last almost 2 years have been really entrenched in F1 student visa mock interviews. So this is really kind of a standout visa classification for me. And I have really thought about F1s a lot, have been exposed to a lot of F1s. So just ask me your questions. You guys can expect to hear what I think is a really good answer that's going to be impressive to the consular officer.
Mhm. Hi, Yvette, are you there? I think something went wrong. I'm not sure what it is. I think the internet. Well, always can happen, but I think we can wait for Yvette to come back. I'm not sure. There seems to be some difficulty with the internet, some technical difficulty. But before, I think Yvette is going to join us back, but until she joins us, I would like to read out this important disclaimer, which is here on the screen, which says, by watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. All right, guys. So I would like to give out this important disclaimer. I would like to read it once again for you. By watching our videos, you agree and understand that the information provided by our experts and attorneys, including comments and replies from users, is not legal advice. Use of information is at your own risk. So I've read it twice for you. So I hope you understand the disclaimer better now. And Yvette is also back. So welcome back, Yvette.
I don't know what happened, but we'll roll with
I
it.
mean, yeah, these things, technical difficulties, internet problems, we can never guess. So, yes, you were saying something. Please go ahead.
I'm saying that so many genuine students are at risk at the visa window more so than other visa classes because it all hinges on that visa interview. It's not protected by a petition like H-1Bs where there has to be a revocation in order for that H-1B to no longer be there. They can simply 214B you. It's an easy 214B. So being prepared for that F1 visa interview, knowing what to avoid saying and how to best present yourself is really critical, which is why I think we have so many questions already.
Yes, questions have already started pouring in. But before we dive into those questions, I want to let our viewers know that we are not only live on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, but also on Yvette's channel, which is Udeti Visa. So make sure to tune in to both the platform for an enriching discussion. And plus, we are also streaming live on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and you can catch us on the handle Immigration Talk Show. So, all right, and now let's get started. But before we take up our viewers' question, Yvette, I would like to know from you. There will be people who have just joined in today's episode who must be,
Mm-hmm.
like fresh viewers. So, for the ones and who don't know what F1 visa is, I mean, it is called student visa, but if you can please elaborate more on what exactly F1 visa is for, a better understanding of the term.
F1 visa is the US visa that anyone who would like to study in the United States for an English program, community college, undergrad, or graduate program, as
Mhm.
well as maybe some postgraduate programs could also be on F1. But in general, you'll see mostly people going for undergrad and their master's program from another country into the United States to pursue their higher education, to their academic studies.
Okay, lovely. Thank you so much for the answer, Yvette. And I can already see, the questions have started coming in. I have got this lengthy, long question posted on LinkedIn. Well, I don't think I'll be able to show the complete question here because it's a bit lengthy and it is cut here, but I would like to read it here. So it is posted by Akshay, and Akshay says, "Good morning. I'm Akshay, having 6+ years of experience as data scientist. As I want to have my further career in artificial intelligence field, I would like to do masters in artificial intelligence and algorithms from Wayne State University, but my F1 visa got rejected twice during spring 24 with 221 regulation. Any suggestions from your side how to fulfill with 221 regulation?"
So 221G is technically a refusal, but for many of us, we consider it simply administrative processing because if it was a real refusal, it would have been a 214B. So for whatever reason, the officer decided to 221G. They wanted to look further into your case. They may have had other concerns, and or they wanted to ask you for additional documentation. I don't know the reason for your 221G. I mean, there are many reasons for 221G. You can be 221G because the officer wants to see some communication between you and the university, or for your service receipt, or for some back end reason, or for your field of study. So I would say in your case, based on the limited information that I know, comply with the 221G if they have asked you for additional documentation. I'm assuming you've already submitted those. If not, then you will have to wait until that 221G clears. If it's been more than 2, 3, 4 weeks, you can email the consulate or embassy and follow up on your case and see if you can move it along so that it's not stuck somewhere. But yes, just follow up on the case and wait and see because in eh, without knowing more information, that's the only information I can give you.
Okay. All right. So thank you so much for answering the question, Yvette. Akshay, I hope you have got the answer. And we already have started getting so many questions.
Oh,
And, yeah, please go ahead.
Rajni, he actually clarified. He wrote, Akshay said, "Hey, it's 214B."
Oh, okay. I think
Yeah, so that's big. That's a big difference.
yes, I think here,
In his follow-up comment, I can
right,
see it
right,
on the
right. I can
screen.
read it here. Yeah, yes. It says, "Good morning. I'm Akshay, having 6+ years of experience as data scientist. As I want to have my further career in artificial intelligence field, I would like to do masters in artificial intelligence and algorithms from Wayne State University, but my F1 visa got rejected twice during spring 24 with 214B regulation. And any suggestions from your side how to fulfill with 214B regulation?" Okay, he did
Got
clarify
it.
here. Mm-hmm.
Yes. So it's the same advice I would offer anyone. A lot of students, especially in India, give generic answers, and
Mm-hmm.
I want you to be very personal and concise as to why you selected this university and
Mm-hmm.
be able to articulate what differentiates it from other universities and why you specifically have picked this field. So I'm not sure how you answered, but in general, having a personal and concise answer rather than saying generic things like, I just want to go for this professor or I just want to go because the ranking is good, having a more specific answer for why this school is going to be important. It sounds like you perhaps did give them that answer and you still were 214B. because you seem like you're articulate and you are very detailed in your question right now. For you, I would suggest to consider booking a consultation with me so we can go over your case in detail, so that I can better guide you. But in general, that's that's the guidance. A better, more concise, clearer answer for why you selected the university if you have not already done that.
Yes, absolutely. And to directly get in touch with Yvette Bansal, we have her details right here on screen. You can directly get in touch with her. You can directly, get into a consultation with her, and you can connect with her on the number +1 630 303 6165. Her email is yb@udetiviza.com, yb as in yellow blue at udetiviza.com, and her website is udetiviza.com. So, well, you can connect with her through these details. And now, already a lot of questions are coming in, but to other viewers who must be thinking, shall I post a question, shall I ask, who must be feeling a little hesitant, should they be asking a question or should they post a question or not, to you I would say, please start posting your F1 questions if you have in the comment section on all the platforms. Yvette is here to help with them with an answer, and she will be able to provide you with valuable insights. So don't hesitate or don't worry, because we are here, to answer your questions. So now, next question is posted by Ruben, and what Ruben says is, I have been refused F1 3 times. The reason why they're refusing me is because my brother went with a tourist visa, then changed to US citizen now. Do I still stand a chance? Can I lie in my next application? What do you have to say, Yvette?
So, when you have a family history of a change of status, it looks like you may potentially also change your status. Like it makes the consular officer have doubts because you have a family history of somebody not using their visa as they communicated to the consular officer they were going to use their visa. So certainly, and I want everybody to remember anything I say is going to be very general. I'm trying to answer very specific questions in a general way. That's why sometimes I say book a consultation with me. It's not really to sell you, it's really because every single person has nuanced information and I really want to, and every person has a different profile, and what looks bad for one applicant may have a totally different context for another. So I just want to make that clear. But I'm going to try to answer this in general terms. But everybody just really understand I'm trying to answer generally very specific questions as accurately as possible, which is difficult to do. But in your case, generally speaking, that does bode and look poor when you have a very close family member who changed their status, did not use their B visa appropriately. Do you stand a chance? You've been refused 3 times. That's going to be a very difficult mountain to climb and overcome, generally speaking. And no, you should not lie on your next application because they already have your case history. And if you lie on your next application, you're really going to have you're really not going to be able to get a visa. So in this situation, if you're not able to get that F1 visa, unfortunately, now you have 3 refusals. If you give it some space and in the future you might want to go back and go on a tourist visa and you're more established, if you lie on your application now, in the future you're also going to hurt yourself. But if you continue to tell the truth, then maybe in the future you may stand a chance. Not the answer that, obviously it's not a perfect solution, but definitely lying is going to be bad. So,
Okay. So, Ruben, well, lying is always bad. So, as you were also suggested, and I think other your family members and your friends would also suggest the same thing to you, that you should not lie on your next application. And well, I would like to tell our audiences, like, it looks like Yvette is all set for today's Q&A session, because not only does she have her expertise ready to share, but she has also picked up a diary and a pen. So,
oh, yes.
right. So now that is something that I would like to call dedication. So great. Okay, we have okay. Ruben she also posted the question on your channel as well on Udeti Visa. But next question that we have is from Rojal Pathak, and Rojal has posted this on Udeti Visa, and he wants to know, Yvette, how long is usually your refusal note? Are you writing it like 4 5 sentences or like 1 2 sentences? What do you have to say?
I would say it really depends on the consular officer. I personally wrote as much as I needed to communicate. Sometimes they were longer, sometimes they were shorter. It really depended on what I was trying to communicate about that applicant.
Okay. And he also has a follow up. What he's asking is it a good idea to call the VO by their name if you know them from US Embassy events or educational fair?
I would say if you called that VO by their name, they would probably recuse themselves from your case because you are not allowed to adjudicate anyone that you know. So if I've ever met anybody at an embassy event or fair and I saw them at the window, I would have to give them to a colleague that didn't know them. So if you do that, then you will be sent to a new window probably.
Okay. So it is not a good idea then, Rojal.
So probably not a good idea.
Yeah. All right. So one more question we have here is from Carrie Smith, and Carrie has posted this on YouTube. And Carrie wants to know why we don't always agree. Sometimes one will deny a visa, and later a different officer will approve the visa. And why every country have different approval rate, higher or lower refusal. What do you have to say?
Mm, great question, Carrie. They don't always agree because they have their own mind, and the law is, there's a couple of reasons. So the law is very vague. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it can be incredibly vague, and there's some room for interpretation. All VOs have inherent biases and places that they come from in terms of the lens that they see the applicant. Also, they might not always agree because during the first application, that person may be presenting in a totally different way than when they come in the second time. So they could actually improve their presentation and their answers. And so they may not agree because the applicant themselves has changed. And so the refusal or approval, therefore, has also been affected. Different countries have different approval rates because of the socioeconomic circumstances of that country. That's one reason. So countries with higher socioeconomic circumstances or mm, you know a different type of applicant that perhaps is more in line with the parameters of approval could have better approval rates than another country. Also, some fraud concerns in certain countries tend to put that country at lower approval rates if that country has just some history with fraud and more concerns on the consular officer. So those are just general answers to your question, but great question.
All right, so Carrie, I hope you have got the answer and I hope you are happy and satisfied with the answer. And thank you so much for posting the question and so thank you so much for following, this live session. And Akshay is back and he says it is hi, it's 214B. Yes, we noticed it that you posted the comment again and you asked your question again with this correction. So Akshay, I hope you have got the answer from Yvette by now and you are happy and satisfied with it. Now let's take Jolti's question. What Jolti wants to know is when should I apply for changing status from F1 to B2? 45 days before EAD OPT expires on 5/31, I think 31st May, or 45 days before grace period ends on 31st 7, I think the 7th month, which is I'll have to, I'm very bad at math, so I'll have to do the math. So when should I apply for changing status from F1 to B1? 45 days before EAD OPT expires on 31st May, or 45 days before grace period, which ends on 31st 7. What do you have to say, Yvette?
That's a very technical question about change of status in the United States, and I don't know why you're changing your status, and so I am not the appropriate person to advise on that change of status. I don't know why you're changing status, what's going on with your OPT, so not a question for me, Jolty.
Okay, all right. So, okay, let's move on to our next question then. Our next question is posted on your channel, Udetividza, and Carrie Kuna. I hope I'm taking your name right, Carrie Kuna. If I'm not, I'm really sorry about that. And he says, "Good morning, Yvette. If you applied for B1, B2 visa and got denied, can you apply for F1 visa?"
You can always apply for an F1 visa. How that denial is going to affect you really depends on that reason for the denial and the strength of your F1 application. So certainly people have been denied B1, B2 visas, but are able to also get an F1 visa after that, or they've also been denied the F1 visa. It just depends on your, you know, again, B1, B2 visa denial, why, and yeah, the strength of your F1. So.
Okay, so thank you so much, Sherry Kuna, for your question. I hope you have got the answer. And let's quickly move on because we are continuously getting a lot of questions. And next question is posted by Jitendra Jain. And I remember Jitendra because he watches the shows. He watches our live sessions and also posts question mostly on LinkedIn. So hi Jitendra, I hope you're doing good. And what he wants to know is not sure if this is the correct forum to ask H1B specific, as today we are taking F1 specific question. However, my friend got selected in H1B lottery this year. However, he couldn't travel prior to next year, April. Will it cause his H1B visa void? Would you like to take this question, Yvette? I mean, we are doing the F1 show today, but
If he has a valid visa and a valid petition, I don't see why he would have a issue traveling. So, um, it's 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 not that it would be void as long as he comes to the consular officer with a valid petition for his stamping, then he can get his visa. In terms of questions that the consular officer would ask him if there's gaps in employment, those are things that he may have to answer to at the visa window. So I hope that makes sense.
all right. Well, thank you so much, Yvette, for answering the question, even though it was not related to F1. But Jitendra, thank you so much for posting your question. Thank you so much for asking. I hope you're enjoying our live sessions because, you are a regular viewer. So, yeah, I hope you're enjoying these sessions. And next question is from Jared. I hope I'm taking the name right. And has posted on YouTube and says, "Can we ask the VO why I was refused? It's confusing sometimes because in DS 160, they ask the reason for your refusal, but rarely VO giving the reason." What do you have to
Right.
say?
It is very confusing. I do agree with you. That's why I advise people not to write it in the explanation box in the DS-160. I just advise you putting 214B if that was your refusal code, which for most everybody that's your refusal code, just writing 214B because you don't know the reason for refusal. A lot of people fall into the trap of writing too much information on their DS-160 and trying to guess at the reason for the refusal, and that just sometimes can leave them worse off if they're writing too much or sounding a bit unhinged in that explanation box. So the safe route is just writing 214B and then yeah, going there. So in terms of asking the VO why you were refused, for me personally, when people asked me why they were refused, I just gave them the 214B letter and I said, "Please read this letter," even though it absolutely gives them no information. And the reason is because I did not have time to explain to that person, and sometimes the answer is complicated, and if you give them a reason, then they're just going to ask you another, and then they're going to try to clarify, and you already refuse them in the system, and you really can't undo that very quickly. So, unfortunately, I think that the interview process is unfair in this way because it's not really a conversation, and a lot of students think, let me just lean back let me just lean back and wait for the questions to come to me. And then they get refused and they're like, wait, 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 I didn't even, explain anything. So that's why you have to be very clear from the very first thing that you're saying so that you don't wait until that refusal and then feel like you had more to say. So you have to take control of the interview. So that's my advice. And the answer to your question is no, I would not ask the VO. They're not going to tell you.
Okay. All right. So, Jared, I hope you have got the answer. Well, if they won't answer you, so I like Yvette said, you should not ask the question. And I would like to come back to Jitendra actually. So, Jitendra, Yvette has already answered, but I also got an answer from my team, and they said, they have an answer from an expert also. And about your H-1B visa getting void, it will not be void as long as the employer has not revoked and there is a job still available. So it will not be
Mm.
void, right? So after Jitendra, let's quickly take okay. Okay, Jared is back with a question, and what he wants to know this time is, I was refused after the VO only asked me one question: do you take social or science major in high school? And after that, he refused me right away, less than a minute. Didn't even bother to care more.
Yeah. So sometimes students will give a generic answer or an answer that's not strong enough, or the VO has seen something on your profile in the DS 160, or they've seen your university, and so they have other information. They have that I-20, they have the DS 160, they have some idea of what you're doing and where you're going. They ask you this question, and if it's not strong enough, or based on your I-20 and DS 160 and just your maybe overall presentation and the conversation, they've already decided that they are going to refuse you. Say your university, um, maybe you're going for a bachelor's degree, and they look at the university, maybe it's a university that they're not convinced about, and they ask you the question and it's not a strong answer. Now you're going into territory of like, this profile is not that strong. I have some doubts. And because the consular officer is very limited on time, they're going to refuse you quickly rather than give you more of an opportunity.
Okay, okay. So now, Jared, I hope you have got the answer in detail, and I hope every doubt is clarified now. And thank you so much for posting your questions. And now let's quickly move to our next question, which is posted by Hanafi. And Hanafi says, there is one Asian American VO in India that reject almost everyone unless they travel abroad to Singapore, Japan, or far country. Is travel history important? He only approves if one has travel history. What do you have to say, Yvette, to this?
First of all, I don't know where you're getting statistics on this particular profiling that you're doing right now. It's so funny but I know there's a lot of F1 groups, and you guys probably have statistics on there and talk about VOs. So travel history just speaks to your level of finances. And so if you as an applicant have traveled outside of India, it looks really good if you've taken those trips, because those trips are expensive. If you've taken those trips and you have some travel history, then what's important is one of the factors that's important for an F1 visa is finances, is proving your finances. And so when you have traveled to another country, the VO does not worry about finances as much. And then they go back and start asking you questions about your intention to be a student. So that's why it's looking really good to have that travel history. Um, Funny question. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Hanifi, for posting this question. I mean, it really is a funny question. But even after that, thank you so much, Yvette, for taking this and answering this. And people are really loving the session. It looks like, people are really enjoying, because continuously the questions are coming from different platforms, LinkedIn and YouTube, on your platform, on your channel, and also on Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. So the session is really going amazing, and Hanafi is back with a follow up. So I would like to take this question quickly. And she says, by the way, I remember you saying it's easier said than done, but I'm not in your shoes. In an F1 event, thanks for your compassion and understanding. All blessings to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
All right. So now, like I said, it looks like people are really enjoying the session. Let's quickly take next question, and the next question is posted on Udati Visa and is posted by Sanjay. And Sanjay wants to know, there. Okay, Sanjay has also posted a similar question. Actually, are Hanafi and Sanjay related? Looks like it. Well, Sanjay, you have also posted a similar question, but thank you so much. Maybe Hanafi thought that, she might not get
Mm-hmm.
picked, or that's why she asked another person to pose this
Mm-hmm.
question. Now, let's
Mm-hmm.
quickly move to Saurabh's question. And Saurabh wants to know, what strategies did you use to integrate into American society and communities while on an F1 visa?
So I am an immigrant, but I was a child of an F4. So an F4 is a sibling of a US citizen. My aunt was here. She petitioned for my father, and she petitioned for my father when he was single. And it takes so long for siblings immigration petitions to become current that by the time that his petition became current, he had three little girls. I was the oldest one, and I was 9 years old when I came to O'Hare in Chicago in the middle of winter, and I did not speak a word of English. Um, so so what strat? So I was never on an F1 visa, but I will tell you I did integrate. And the way I did that was literally through ignoring every single naysayer or negativity around me, you
Wow.
know, hanging out with my cousins who spoke English and like copying what they wore, not caring what anybody else thought of me, and just being like a boss at like 9 years old, being like, I don't care, I don't care. And I
Wow.
just like kept that attitude for a long time. And I was like lower middle, lower income, and I told people at some point I want to be a diplomat, and people are like, okay, and I just did whatever I wanted. So that's that's my advice sometimes, but that's kind of how I integrated. I did the best I could, and if it wasn't good enough, I just did me. So
Wow. That could be
yeah.
we can use it as a quote.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for answering the question, Yvette. And Saurabh, thank you so much for posting your question. And I hope you have got the answer. The answer is pretty clear and pretty simple. So I hope, you love the answer and you're going to follow what Yvette followed back then. And also today, right? So
Yeah.
now,
Yeah.
okay, now let's quickly, it's fantastic to see all these positive feedback coming from our viewers, and everyone, your engagement and enthusiasm truly makes this session a special one. But right now we'll have to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back to answer your questions. So let's quickly take a break, and we'll be back right after the short break. So stay tuned with Immigration and Jobs Talk Show.
Are you an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 732-707-9151 or mail us at rajni@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.
Welcome back, our lovely viewers. You're watching Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, and we hope you enjoyed the break. And now it's time to address your questions again. So, Yvette, are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm always ready for F1 questions.
All right. So now the next question that we have is from Rahul, and what Rahul wants to know is while filing the DS 160 for F1 renewal, what do you write as primary occupation? Currently enrolled in a day one CPT college, should the primary occupation be student?
Mm. Or if you're working, you can, I mean, generally speaking, if you're working, then your last employer, your current employer, I mean, you're employed. So
Mhm.
if you're enrolled in CPT, but are you working on CPT? I guess that's the question. If you're working on CPT, you can put your employer as your current employer. If you're not, then I guess you don't have that option. So you
Okay.
can put, you can not have that.
Rahul also has a follow up. What he wants to also know is if so, do you mention your salary and how do you enter your current CPT internship?
You can mention your salary, so it'll ask for your current employer. And so you can mention that salary, you can mention the name of the employer, you can mention your work duties. It doesn't need to be specified as a CPT or an internship. It could just be like a job because it is a job. It's just classified as CPT. So you can just enter it on your DS 160 as a job and mention your salary and write your duties and not stress about it. But good
Okay.
question. Really good question. Yeah.
Well, Rahul, so thank you so much for posting your question. And like Yvette said, don't stress about it. And next we have is from Darza, and Darza wants to know considering OPT after graduation on my F1 visa, any insights into the application process and timelines?
All right, I will suggest for anybody on this call that has CPT and OPT questions. I did an awesome video on my YouTube channel that's entitled CPT OPT with Ron.
Mhm.
Um, he is an OPT CPT expert, and I did an interview with him. So you can find that video on Udeti Visa's YouTube channel and watch it because it'll give you all the insights and process and timelines that I cannot like cover in a short period of time because there's a lot of things to consider.
Okay. All right. So, Darza, thank you so much for posting your question. And next question that we have is from Peter Khan. And Peter has posted this on both the channels, Immigration and Jobs Talk Show, and also on Udeti Visa. So, what Peter wants to know is do embassy have limitations or quota when issuing F1 visa? And why sometimes candidates that accepted in prestigious universities with scholarship, Yale, Harvard, Columbia, get declined? It didn't make sense. What do you have to say, Yvette?
So just really quickly for those on OP for the OPT questions, I think the major thing that I got from Ron is that you should plan ahead. If you have plans for CPT or OPT, make sure that you're getting with the experts at your school, your designated school official, and talking about CPT and OPT very quickly after you go back to campus, really understanding the process, uh, really understanding the deadlines, not waiting until the last minute, because I think that a lot of students feel a crunch. So yes, in addition to that, watch the video, but that's something that I'll mention on this channel is that to be prepared and to talk to the designated school official about how it all works and how to connect with companies and expectations and managing your expectations. So that is for that question. I did not want to leave you without anything. So for this question, we do not have quotas for issuing F1 visas, and why sometimes that are accepted into prestigious programs get declined? It doesn't make sense. Honestly, it does not make sense to me either. I would never, I would, so this is maybe a good time to pause and talk about what the consular officer looks for.
Okay.
So generally speaking, they look for, are you a serious student? are you intending on completing your program and can you afford it? If the consular officer, the law is vague about what is acceptable to do in the future. So they're supposed to be adjudicating you based on your current intention to be a student. Perhaps some consular officers are worried that those who got into these prestigious institutions have other intentions. Now,
Mm-hmm.
unless their intention is that they're completely going to ditch their program, they should really be issuing that visa. But since the law is so vague, they they could have some issues and say, okay, maybe he got into Harvard, but I don't think he's actually going to complete his program. Like maybe he can be successful. However,
Mm-hmm.
is he actually going to complete his program? And maybe he's getting rejected on that factor. I actually have a weird story, okay? And I don't know it, and I was online and I'm on Quora, and there's
Mm-hmm.
another consular officer on Quora. She's
Okay.
a former consular officer, and she has like so many followers and everything on Quora. And I read one of her answers, and she was a consular officer a long time ago. So the law does change. I read one of her Quora answers, and it was, I was at a I was at an embassy party, and I heard the father of the applicant in front of me say that his son did not have any intention of going back to his home country after
Okay.
his degree, after his degree from Harvard. So I
Uh-huh.
refused his application to go to Harvard, and I thought that was fair. That was her response to a
Wow.
question on Quora, and I read it and my jaw dropped, and I couldn't write a comment because it was like closed. It was like from 3 years ago, and I just wanted to say, I'm like, you don't know what context that dad was saying that in.
Uh-huh.
If you're hoping for an H-1B someday, that's still within the bounds of the law. What right do you have to refuse somebody who's going to Harvard based on a conversation that you
Right.
overheard? It all seemed very unfair, um, and just crazy. So I think that kind of gives you an idea
So,
of the flexibility.
Yvette,
Yeah.
are you referring to Catherine Burke on from Cora?
I mean, I'm not gonna like confirm or
May.
deny
Okay.
that, Rajni. I am
Okay.
not confirming or denying that. But if you
Okay.
wanted
All
to do
right.
your own research to find out the answer to that question. But
Okay.
yes,
I'll do that.
so the answer did shock me because I found a lot of her other answers or their other answers like fantastic, really good answers. However, this particular answer really shocked me. So, with that being said, the interpretation of the law, how that law was at that point in time, it could have been worded differently, but as it stands now, as long as the consular officer believes that you intend on completing your program, that you're
Mhm.
using your visa appropriately, even if that means you hope for an H-1B in the future, technically you should be getting approved based on what the law says. If you're getting into Yale, Harvard, Columbia, you have proven that you are a serious student and that you have the aptitude in order to clear that program. Um, as to why they would get refused, yeah, I already covered that a little bit. Like the interpretation of what that consular officer believes you
Mm.
are going to end up doing. Do they think you're going to ditch the program early? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me either because if you get into Harvard, unless you already have like two other master's degree and the major you got into doesn't make sense, which is not usually the case. Usually when you get into these programs, it's for a major you're well prepared for. Even if you have another degree, my expectation is if you get into that school, you're going to graduate because your earning potential after that program is going to be really high. So I know that was a lot, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. I hope I've shed a little bit of light on my opinion of this topic.
No, 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 absolutely. And I just took the name because we
Yeah.
just read a lot of posts and content on Quora from her. So no offense, please. All right. So now let's quickly move on to our next question. And the next question that we have is from Ravindra Kumar. And what Ravindra wants to know is, I got a pink slip 221G during my interview. My CEAC status was refused that day, and now my CEAC status has changed to approved. Does it mean my visa is approved or it will go further processing? What do you have to say, Ved?
It should be approved. If your SEAC chain 221G it'll either be like refused or administrative in the system, whatever the highlighted thing for 221G, but it certainly wouldn't say approved if it was in 221G status, only if it's approved. So, maybe an early congratulations is in order for you, Ravindra.
Wow. So congratulations, Ravindra. I mean, if Yvette has congratulated you, it means you deserve the congratulations. So now let's move to our next question. The next question that we have is from actually Hanafi, and Hanafi is back with a follow-up. And she wants to know, do VO get affected by mood? Because there is a case when VO refused 30 students, all students in a day. Everyone is declined that day. I really don't understand why they have this malicious motivation. Okay. What do you have to
I
say,
on
Yvette?
I've seen so many consular officers, and I can say that I really doubt that any of them have malicious motivation. Some intakes produce kind of the type of student that is not presenting their case well enough to the consular officer. So there are some times of the year, some days that are worse than others. But certainly there the interpretation of the law from one officer to the other could be that there are officers that are stricter or have a higher bar for adjudicating F1s, and maybe that's the case with this officer. I wouldn't attribute it to malicious intent, but maybe a stricter stance. So, of course, the mood of the consular officer always comes into play. But I think that if you present your case really strongly, that should mute any other, anything going on with that consular officer. So you always want to have a clear, personal, and concise answer. You don't want to give generic answers to why you're going to the US, why you're attending that school, why you're attending that program. Um, okay, I'll give you guys an example. I know we're doing Q&A, but I want to do a little bit of like teaching.
Absolutely.
So, I am, this is a little bit of a plug. Me and UDJ is an influencer on Instagram, are going to be doing webinars that are going to come out in the next month or two. So you can stay tuned for those webinars. But and also we did a video together in which he was on an F1 visa, and I asked him what his answer was to the consular officer because he was going to Chico State University. It's a university that doesn't cost a lot of money. It's in California, and it's not a known school. And one of his answers was, I selected Chico State because I saw that there was like less than 16 Indian students there, and I thought that that was really interesting because I did not want to go from India to another India. I wanted to meet and interact with different cultures. And that was like one part of his answer, and I was like, Yudi, that's why you got your visa, is because of that answer. The US loves doing multicultural exchanges. It's also okay to say I'm going to a university with lots of Indian students so that I can have a community. That's totally fine too. My point is his answer was so unique. I had never heard it before, and I'm sure the consular officer hadn't heard it before. He successfully gave an answer that was unique and personal to him, and therefore he sounded like a genuine student. So I hope that that helps. It's more like your answer rather than focusing on a bad CO or a VO with malicious motivation or the consular officer's mood. Like put that back on you and ask yourself, everybody on this call, how can I be more prepared? You know,
Okay, well, Hanafi, so to answer your question, Mangu is here, and what Mangu says is, viewers are humans too. What if they fought at home and brought baggage to work and reject F1 visas and they never deny visas for rich students? Why?
so a lot of blanket
Uh-huh.
generalizations. They are human. They are human too. They are human too. They are.
Mhm.
And baggage, bad moods, of
Of
course,
course.
they affect them. But if you're giving generic answers at the visa window, then you're not helping yourself get that F1 visa. And regarding the answer for rich students, unfortunately, one of the three things that we talked about, serious student, aptitude for success, and finances, that finances piece, if that's covered, then the consular officer only has to focus on the fact that are they going to complete their program and can they complete their program. Finances in a country like India and some African countries is a huge deal. The consular
Right.
officer by law has to know, has to be able to, and like written for us, that you'll be able to cover your expenses without resorting to unauthorized employment. So if there is a rich kid at the window, they are not feeling nervous about that student potentially misusing their visa, and therefore it's easier for that student because of the way the law was written, not necessarily because they just think that rich kids deserve to go to the US and other kids don't. Believe me, I can't speak to all VOs, but I did not believe that. I wanted to give the opportunity, you know, to everyone, especially people who were, underprivileged or even in certain cultures, females. I try to give them a little bit of extra time to talk if being confident and assertive was not something in their culture they're used to doing. And I'm sure other consular officers um, probably had the same mentality, but we are bound by the law.
Okay, but he's back with a follow up. And this time he wants to know, would there be an appeal process for a denied F1 visa?
No, there really is nothing you can do but be prepared and apply again. Be really prepared and apply again. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, Mangu, I hope you have got the answer for all the questions that you posted. Thank you so much for posting, and thank you so much for watching our live session. And now, Peter is back with a follow-up question, and Peter wants to know that have you turned around refused F1 visa? Plus one, I wish the viewer understand the process to fill DS 160 alone takes day, and $295 is not a cheap money. I just wish they can see applicant from a fresh eye perspective.
I don't know what turnaround okay, overcame. Have I ever issued a approval after a refusal? All the time. All the time. I used to love doing it, if I could. If I looked at past case notes and they were just kind of vague, I would ask the student again, what's your purpose for going to the United States? Why this school? How are you going to finance it? And if their answers are stronger and I'm able to issue them an approval, then yes, I would. I mean, that refusal, don't get me wrong, weighs heavily on me, but I have overcame many refusals mainly because of a better presentation, better answers, better preparation by the applicant, or because the refusal was a long time ago, or it was a B1 visa, or it did not relate anymore, et cetera, et cetera. Um, I don't think that the consular officers sit around and think about the money you're spending on the application. I think probably they also think about the fact that going to the US is really expensive. So they think about that as well. And I also wish that the VO saw applicants from a fresh perspective. It's hard because you trust and respect your colleagues, and if they've made a decision, the thing is about consistency too. If every officer overturns the other officer, it's like a game. It becomes like a game, right? So I also wish they can see them from a fresh perspective, but at the same time, I understand the practice of honoring other people's refusals because they refused you for a reason. So you have to take that into consideration and try to be a consistent adjudicator in your consulate or across your country, if that makes sense. So there's two things at play here. But thank you for your question. It's a good one.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much again for posting your question. I hope you are happy and satisfied with the answer. And now Mangu is again back, and he says, "Thanks, Yvette. I like the way you answer. What's your number?" Okay, and Mangu, I would like to give Yvette's number on her behalf. So if you want to get in touch directly with Yvette, you can give her a call at, and everyone else, if you want to get in touch with Yvette directly, what you can do is you can give her a call or text her at +1 630 303 6165. You can also email her at yb@udetiVisa.com, and her website is udetivisa.com. Okay. I know, Yvette, you must be really, really busy, and also it's a weekend, it's a Friday, so I know you must be having a lot of things to finish. But one last question before I let you go. So, the last question I would like to take here is from Mahendra Singh. Mahendra wants to know, I already completed a master's degree in my home country. Can I still get an F1 visa for another master's program in the US? What this last question, and then, you're good to wrap
I
up.
know I know, guys, that I've said really good questions, but this is an excellent question because it's a little bit of a counterintuitive question because most people would think, "Oh, you already have a master's, you must be so qualified." But the answer is yes, of course, you can apply for an F1 visa, but be prepared for the question, why a second master's? Don't don't freak out at the window when you get that question because the consular officer is going to want to know, are you intending on completing that master's? Or because you have a master's, now you have the technical skills to jump off and maybe try to get an H-1B without completing your master's. So they need to know that you really need that master's. Your intention is to be a student. So if you already have one master's, be very clear on why you need the academic program of that second master's. Connect it with your past, connect it with your future, have a really solid answer for what you would do with that second master's and what it would give you back in your home country, in your home city. So just be prepared for that.
Okay, all right. Thank you so much, Mahendra, for your question. And like Yvette said, excellent question you asked, and I hope you are happy with the answer. And now, everyone, I would like to tell you that if you directly want to, connect with Yvette, you can give her a call at +1 630 303 6165. Her email is yb@udetivisa.com, and her website is udetivisa.com. And also, if you're looking for project placement, you can get in touch with me. You can contact me on my number, which is +1 732 707 9151. And my email is rajni@higherITpeople.com. Our website is higherITpeople.com. Always remember, we also sponsor H-1B visas and other work visas based on job availability and regulations. So, Yvette, with that, I would like to extend a huge thank you. I would like to say a huge thank you to you. I know you're really busy, you have another appointment that you have to run to, but thank you so much. Thank you so much for your wonderful answers and your valuable insights that you gave to our lovely audiences. And thank you so much for your
Thank
time.
Thank you so much, Rajni. I really enjoyed my time with you, and thank you so much for everyone who tuned in and asked their questions. And I wish you guys all the best of luck. I love students, and that's why I love this topic. And I'm sure we'll do another one. So thank you. Take care.
All right, thank you so much. Yes, we'll be doing this session. We'll do a continued episode of this F1 session next week. But with that, I would like to bid you all a farewell until we meet next. Take care, keep chasing your dreams, and keep on watching and subscribing to Immigration and Jobs Talk Show. I'm Rajni Bharara, signing off. Adios.
You an IT consultant seeking a new opportunity? We offer job placement services for US citizens, green cards, EADs, and visa holders. We also sponsor various work visas like H-1B, E3, TN, and green cards. 20 plus years of experience in the industry. Exceptional employee benefits. Highly rated by our employees. Global presence with 200 plus recruiters and direct clients. Connect with us. Call us on the number 732-707-9151 or mail us at rajni@higheritpeople.com or visit our website www.higheritpeople.com.